Hey guys, me South43. So I think we're all getting pretty sick of seeing these videos. I know. Just it happens, most of our cats are older and yeah. So as you can probably guess, Cookie is gone. I don't fully know what happened. It's been a week since we've seen him. He doesn't run away. Our cats have never run away, and he was very close to us. He's disappeared for a few days before, but it's been a week and he's getting older, and if he was alive, he would have come home by now. Now, Cookie's story is something I've wanted to talk about for a while, but under happier circumstances, because Cookie, he was honestly my best friend. He was my buddy. He stood for more than just being a pet. Now, we got him back in 2010. This is the summer I started collecting Webkins, and actually when he started hanging around, I thought, and my mom did too, that he was a female, and that is why I have a Littlekins black and white cat named Cookie that's a girl. But around that time we had Taz and Princess, so we had food outside and he was hungry and started coming around. There was also another black and white cat that started coming around. I called her Madison. My mom never believed me that they were two separate black and whites, but I have pictures of both and they clearly have different markings. I was right all along, Mom. But I called that cat Madison. I'm not sure what happened to her. Just one day she stopped coming around. But Cookie was born wild. He was completely feral. He'd see us and he'd run. But when he started hanging around, he started getting really fat. We immediately thought, oh great, it's definitely a female. She's gonna have babies. So we're like, oh well, we better catch her. And so we borrowed a Have a Heart trap and we caught him in that. And we're like, well, he has to have the babies. She has to have the babies. So during the coldest month of the entire winter, I remember this, it was a really, really cold December, he spent it in my uncle's garage because we kept thinking, oh, she's gonna have the babies, and never did. Then we finally, took him to our vet, like, okay, something's not right here. And the vet's like, that looks like a boy face. And yeah, it was a boy. That was Cookie. Keep in mind, at this time, he was completely wild. I don't even remember how we got him out of my uncle's garage. We somehow got him in a cage. But the vet went ahead and neutered him, and that was the start of like our catch and release thing, because that's what we've been doing now. When a stray starts hanging around, we just get him fixed and release him. But it was so funny, this cat that was so wild wouldn't let us get like within 10 feet of him. We went to pick him up and bring him home, and the girls at the vet, they're like, oh, this is your cat? Oh, he's so sweet. We've been holding him and loving on him. And we look back there, and there's a girl that's like holding Cookie in their arms, and he's just all purring and happy, and it's like, he must have been drugged. I always wanted to get close to him, and my mom told me since I was little, probably to keep me away from all the cats, that a wild cat could never be tamed. Cookie proved her wrong. He got used to us. He stuck around because male cats that are fixed tend to not roam, and it got to the point like we'd be feeding him like old chicken and turkey, and he'd almost eat out of our hands. He'd get like within a foot of us, but we tried to reach him and he flinched back, and that's just what he did. We got really close. We worked with him over the summer. I remember one day I was walking down the yard, and he always walked in front of me. He had this complex. He always had to walk in front of me. If you like try and move around him, he picks up the pace and walks in front of you. Like he has to be the leader. That was always his thing. But I remember I was walking down the yard, just down along the woods down there, and he was walking in front of me, and I kept reaching down, just trying to pet him, and he'd look back, see me, and flinch away. And we just kept doing that for a few minutes, and then finally I petted him, and he just stopped. And he completely melted. He started purring. He was like, oh man, what am I missing out on? And I was so happy. Like, hey, I just did this thing my mom said I could never do. I wasn't even thinking. I was like, I gotta show her this. And I picked him up, and he still purred, and he hated being held. But he purred, and he just melted in my arms. And I showed my mom, and she petted him, and from that day forth, he would come up to us and let us love on him, but he was very finicky. He did not like my dad or my brother. He liked me and my mom only. He did not want anyone else to touch him. And I haven't really talked too much about Taz. I covered her briefly, I think, in the Princess video. Taz was Cookie's best friend. Those two curled up and slept together. They were the best of friends. And oftentimes she'd look out the window and you see them playing together. They were just so close. It was so hilarious because you catch them playing, and if Taz would see you and know that you were watching, she'd smack Cookie away like, oh, I'm not playing with him. No, and Cookie would just stand there so dumbfounded, like, what just happened? I don't get it. But Taz did that because she was a little attention hog. That's all she wanted your love, and she didn't want anyone else to take it. A while back, we also had a really big scare with coyotes. They nearly got Princess. They tore a little bit of fur off her back, but she made it under the car in time, and all 3 of our boys vanished. My mom was like, they're never coming back. And I knew they would all come back, and they did. One by one. First came Chili, and then the next day Cookie, and later that afternoon Thunder Thighs. They all came home. That's just what they did. They knew where their place was, and they knew where they were loved. Cookie was also not the youngest cat. He was born in 2006, we believe. I mean, he was wild. There was no way to show his to know his actual age, but his fur was starting to thin at this point. He was starting to skip meals. He was getting a little bit bony, and that's just what happens when they get really old. All I know is that he's not coming home. It's been a week, and he wouldn't leave us. He was by far the most gentle and loving cat in the world. I'd walk outside and he would start following me around, often in videos. If he saw me with the camera, he'd be quiet, but he'd always be nearby. And sometimes, if he didn't know I was recording, he'd come up and meow at me and be like, oh, you're recording? Okay, I'll be quiet now. I'll miss that. I'll miss that a lot. And he was the kindest and most gentle cat. Even though he didn't like being held, he never scratched you, he never bit you. He had giant feet. We actually thought he might have been a 6-toed cat because his feet were so huge. He looked like this big, brawny, tough guy, and he kind of put on the act, but he was the stereotypical tough guy that's so sweet that you love to death. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope I'll have a good video for you Saturday if I can get one. I'll see you in the next one. Later.